Welcome to the locker room. I am Captain Paul. This is my co-host Fajardo. How's it going there, Fajardo?
It's good. Good to be alive.
Well, we promised a 2 o'clock show. A few minutes late due to some technical issues, but we are here. There is a lot to talk about around the NHL. We got Ryan O'Reilly joining the Toronto Maple Leafs. We have Tarasenko going to the New York Rangers, and how bad my prediction has been thus far with that. And you have a lot of good hockey around the league. And let's start off the show talking about the Rangers making another acquisition. So it seems like the Rangers have traded for Tyler Mott to the Ottawa Senators for Julien Gauthier and his 7th round conditional pick. So more comes in, I'll provide it. But Tyler Mott to the Rangers. What are you thinking of this deal? Do you think this would be real? You think this is a really good get for them? Maybe adding a little bit more depth.
100%. I definitely like the trade. Tyler Mott proved himself last season when we made our playoff run. I think that in a scenario where you have a team that's built right now, to kind of win now, this is probably the best scenario because Gauthier has been, hit or miss throughout the entire season. But we didn't use him pretty much at all last playoffs. But Tyler Mott, we definitely used throughout the playoffs, and he proved him, his worth. I was actually, during the offseason, I was actually hoping that the New York Rangers would re-sign him, but they failed to do so. But I am kind of happy they got him back, and it didn't really cost us too much.
Well, I want to say a big shout out to DEG for popping in. He wanted to get on this show. He actually gave me a phone call while I was asleep. Led to got to wake up there, but feel free to pop in whenever you want, man, especially when we get going. It'd be kind of nice to have another guy join in, so feel free to join in on the StreamYard. You already have the log and all the information. Tyler Mott, I think, is a really good get for the Rangers. They had him before. He's a perfect fourth-line grinder. And when it kind of comes to the cap, I don't think there's much of a difference there with cap. Let me go to cap friendly. I will go to Ottawa. I'm not sure if they have updated this at all. But there's with Tyler Mott, I don't believe there's really much of a cap hit on him. No, I think they actually already switched it here. Let me go to the Rangers then. Tyler Mott. No, they still have 0 in cap space. No, they have $206,000 in cap space. Tyler Mott's cap hit is a $1.35 million player. He played pretty decently for Ottawa this season. Looking at his stats, he in 38 games played, 3 goals, 6 assists for 9 points. He's not gonna score you a lot of goals. That's not his role. He's like a forechecker, energy waster guy. Beyond the penalty kill. But yeah, I think Tyler Mott, these are the type of players you need. The unsung heroes that will go in a series, and he'll get you maybe get you that goal, but he'll rejuvenize the lineup with some physical plays and just straight up smart hockey. I don't think this is really a bad thing for the Rangers, in my opinion. Does it move the needle in any way, shape, or form? I'm not going to say that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think that's a bad deal. You get now you.
Me personally, I definitely I've had conversation with other Ranger fans about Tyler Mott during the off season. Like I said, not only myself but a lot of Ranger fans were a little upset that we did not re-sign him. Just because, like you said, he isn't a world beater. He's not going to give you a lot of points, but he's there and he can play multiple positions. He can play both wings and he can actually play center when needed. The good thing about that is you have the versatility of a player who also has playoff experience, knows what the Rangers want, know what the Rangers can do, knows how to play the system already. So it isn't too far removed from last season to this season. Now he comes in and he has, more support throughout the lineup. Whereas last year, it was kind of like, oh my God, who's gonna step up? You were looking to the fourth line to produce amongst other things, but coming into the situation now for Tyler, I think it's a better scenario because I think there's a little less pressure on the fourth, well, quote unquote fourth line, to step up and do anything. Even though the fourth line isn't bad, you have Decisions, you have Goudreau, maybe a Jimmy Vesey that'll switch in with Tyler Mott. So it gives you some flexibility with the depth chart there, where you have a fourth line that'll have at least three guys with one guy that already has that championship caliber experience in Goudreau, and when he was with Tampa Bay, that can help
Right.
carry that fourth line when it gets to the nitty gritty. And then you have, obviously, the Rangers have about 2 to 3 other lines that have real offensive power. So a lot less pressure on the fourth line this time around, which may actually work in Mott's favor because
True.
When we watched him play last season, in the playoffs, he was forced a little bit to do a little bit more than he was comfortable, and I think that was good for him and the team because it kind of saw what he was capable of, but it also saw him, grow into that role and actually, become a little bit better of a player, which is why he got a good contract at Ottawa and why everybody was kind of excited when he did join Ottawa because you wanted to see more of that growth. And I think now being on the Rangers again, you may see him grow a little bit better and a little bit more.
Now, I'll agree with DEG on this. $1.5 million is a little much for a fourth liner, especially with his production. I don't think it's a crazy. It's kind of around league average, right? Maybe a little bit above average for what he probably should be getting. But I think as a fourth line piece, where that's Rangers, this is foreseeably the only deal left they can make unless they move another player with some significant cap to it, because they are restrained by having virtually no money. Staying with the Rangers.
Yep, it's time.
So
Fans that watch the show, it is time. He's gonna do this.
I made a video that aids like fucking poor milk thus far, and I'm gonna stick by with what I said because I'll be honest with you. Tarasenko's done okay as a Ranger thus far. He's got 3 points in 5 games, 2 goals, 1 assist. But maybe I didn't take into account how much his game would help Panarin. And it's one of those things where I look at Tarasenko and I'm comparing him versus Patrick Kane. Personally, I maybe think Kane has a little bit more of a higher end ceiling, but I don't know. Tarasenko, he's done there. They've done well. They're 4-0-1 in their last 5 games since he's been there. But I think the biggest boom you've seen since he's been there, Panarin in his last 5 games has been going off. He has 6 goals. And he just likes to make me look bad. So, and he has 6 goals. He has 6 goals, 6 assists for 12 points in 5 games. He's absolutely been on a tear. I think that's kind of opened up Panarin's game a bit. And this isn't completely to knock Panarin, but at times it seems like he tries when he wants to. When he's engaged in the game, he's still one of the best players in the league. And maybe I just didn't really take into account that indeed would really benefit Panarin. So, I mean, it's worked thus far. You obviously want to see a little bit more production from Tarasenko, but maybe if it takes him a little bit of time to get comfortable in New York and you can start seeing more of an uptick in his production. But for a pure rental, having a guy come in and just help out and maybe give a little bit of a boost, even if it's just emotional, I mean, it's been panning out.
So, as a Ranger fan, right? Obviously, I'm excited to see what can happen as far as once he settles in and he gets adjusted to what the team does and all those things. Because yeah, like you said, there's like a buffer period where he needs to get accustomed to not only the team strategy but the individual line mates, right? Because he's not only on like the top line, he's going to be bounced around between the top line, the second line. Obviously, if things get staled out or if, teams clamp like a particular set line, they're gonna have to move things around. Gallant is very good at moving those things around and
Right.
creating chemistry out of nowhere, kind of thing. So it's one of those things that definitely is gonna take time. But now, as an analyst, right, you want to take a look at the whole picture, and what I see is you bring in a name, right, and a name has more value than people think. A name
Right.
means that people are going to be a defender on the ice has to take him to account automatically. You no longer can just say, "Oh, I'm not going to look at that guy. They're going to focus on this side of the ice," or it's just these two. No, now you have to look at all three individuals on the ice coming at you, and all three can
True.
score. Whether it's him, Zibanejad, Panarin, him, maybe Trocheck and Jimmy Vesey, whatever the case may be, he is now another factor that draws the attention away from the guys that are normally just pushing on the other guys. It opens up the ice to a particular degree that someone who doesn't have that type of name recognition can't do, right? So that coming into the Ranger team also creates a separation of delegated jobs, right? So when you're defensive pairing on a team, your top defensive pairing is definitely going to always get on the ice for the top line. But in a scenario of, let's say, Boston, New York, right, where they have multiple lines that can bury the puck, that can do so much.
Right.
It's like, all right, listen, we're gonna go with whoever's looking hot. We're gonna, it kind of puts the other defense not in shambles, but we have to reanalyze as the game is going, and a lot of teams are not good at doing that, which is where the struggle normally happens. That's why in a series teams can do that because they can adjust from one game to the next. But in a game, it's very difficult to do.
So I want to mention this. Thank you, ML, coming in, joining the stream. I appreciate this comment. Foligno for 3.8 million. That is far too much. I've been very clear on this channel. I hated that contract the day they signed it. Now, I will be fair to Foligno. He has played well this year, 55 games played, 9 goals, 16 assists for 25 points. He's not really having just kind of fourth-line production, maybe a third-liner. It's too much. It's too rich. So what I'm saying is, I'm a Boston fan, but trust me, some of the contracts they sign, it's like I don't understand. But getting into, and Evil brings up a good point. 6 of those goals were in 2 games. And that's kind of what you said. Tarasenko's presence opening up the ice for more people around him. Now, I think when it kind of comes to the Rangers, they have all the making of a cup team. And I think I kind of want to reference my video. Some people got kind of in their feelings when I didn't really call them a cup contender. My thing is this. Could they go on a run and potentially win a Stanley Cup? Absolutely. I think they have the youth. As you know, and I've said on this show multiple times, I'm a big Lafreniere fan. I'm a big Hedel fan. I'm a big believer in Kakko. Like, I believe these guys just need times. I think the New York media is far too harsh on these guys. Just like in Boston, sometimes people can be really hard on the younger guys. You just need it to give, you need to give it time. You just do. And I fully believe that the New York Rangers and the Buffalo Sabres will be the best team in the NHL for years to come. The reason why I don't necessarily believe completely in them yet as a bona fide cup contender is this. Their defense at times, to me, is very Jekyll and Hyde. And I know some of that comes with youth, right? Because on the same channel where we've been very praising guys like Keandre Miller, he's going to be the next big thing, even Schneider, they've had moments they've had down moments. Adam Fox, to me, offensively, will give you the world, and I think he's extremely talented. But defensively, he leaves you lacking. He makes you wanting more. He leaves you wanting more from him, because I do truly believe he can reach a higher level on the defensive side of his game. Right now, and I'm not completely comparing the two, he's just like a Torrey Krug on steroids at times. I still think he's better defensively than Torrey Krug, but it seems like he gets far caught up being in the offensive side of the game, which I know is his strength, he kind of neglects his defensive responsibilities at times. But it seems like that's been reined in recently, so it's not as much of a complaint as of late. But I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, welcome, Doctor Evil.
Welcome, Evil.
Always good to have you. Um, a fellow Ranger fan, so we can beat down this Boston fan over here. But
I mean, we beat down everyone else in the league, so it's all good,
including us.
Yeah, definitely. But my thoughts on Fox is yes, definitely. Well, not let me reference the whole defensive core for New York. Their biggest problem is I think they start off the game not having a plan, and that's why if you notice a lot of times they're coming back, right? They have to come back is because they go into the game and they sit back to try to read what's going on, which is not a bad thing, right? But they get scored on a lot. Even in the past 2 games against Edmonton and Calgary, they got scored on 7 goals in the first period of both games combined, I believe, or somewhere around 6 or 7 goals.
They gave up 2 goals within 8 seconds of each other in the first minute of the game last night
in Calgary, right? And they let in 4 goals the first period of the game against Edmonton the night before, right? So obviously it's one of those things where they just don't seem to have a plan going in, and I think that it's really costing them because if they had a plan that can shut down early, they'd have so many bigger wins and a lot easier games. But they really just do it to themselves. They just don't show up at the beginning of the game. Then they show up later. Then that's when the offensive capabilities of defensemen are really, highlighted because it helps them get into the game and they come back and, they win a lot of games. But that's not the type of game you want to go, take into the playoffs.
No. There's something that I notice about our defensemen, especially when you talk about how offensively talented Adam Fox and Keandre Miller are. I think that a lot of the times I catch them down deep in the boards behind the net. And when you don't have those guys in proper position to get back, when you end up losing possession of the puck, it puts you in a bad situation. And, obviously you got to give the Rangers a little bit of grace because they started out really slow. They had going from the East Coast to the West Coast in the first game. And then last night was the second of a back-to-back. So we have to kind of factor that in as well. But all too often we find that A, the defensemen are out of position, and B, a lot of times when the puck is thrown in front of the net, the players don't see, they panic, like they know that they need to clear the puck. They have no puck awareness. They don't know exactly where the puck is, just looking around, searching for the puck, and it's like right there in front of them, and they're looking around. They give up possession of the puck. You're talking about those 50-50 pucks. They give up possession of the puck right in front of their own net, and they're also screening their own goaltender. So when the opposing offensive player goes to shoot the puck, and remember we had Shesterkin in game 1, and then we had Halak in game 2. And then you look at the position that these goaltenders are in, they're not really properly being defended because I think that sometimes they're out of position. They know they're out of position. They panic when they're out of position. They have poor puck awareness, and then the puck is making a triangle right in front of their own net.
I think when it kind of comes down to it, some of it's youth, right? Because if I'm going to go over here and look at the ages of like a lot of these defensemen here for the Rangers, right? Let's just kind of go about it that way. Because at the NHL game, I don't feel like you get to your full maturation process as a defenseman, at least till the few years in, like 3/4 year. Because it's,
you don't think he should have got that trophy?
I don't think he's a true defenseman, no.
Right.
The problem is,
defenseman of the year the second year.
The problem is the Norris Trophy hasn't become about defense. It's become more about offensive numbers. That's why you thank you, L jerk. But the problem is that it's become a pure offensive award, and I don't like that. I mean, you've seen Eric Carlson win it with massive years. I mean, there's been years where you've had guys with like actually true good defensemen win it. Like I think Chara won it a year. I know Lindstrom won it. They should rename it to the Lindstrom Award at some point. But when it kind of comes down to it, I feel like people just get infatuated with his offensive numbers. Where I think Fox, well, yes, offensively talented, can be very lackluster in his own end. Now, Lindgren, 25, Fox, 25, Keandre Miller, 23, Trouba, 28, Mikola, 26. You guys just got him. Schneider, 21. When I look at this, your veteran is 28 years old. Trouba is what he is at this point. And Trouba, I love his physicality, but sometimes his physicality takes him out of plays. I've seen that quite a bit where he'll go for the big hit. Now, he'll have those moments like Kadri, where Kadri's seeing stars. He doesn't know where the fuck he is. But then there's other moments. He'll go for a big hit, which he'll get a body on the player. But as we both know, because we both played hockey there, Fajardo, I've done a lot of plays where I'll take a hit to make a play. So I'll hold on to the puck, throw it to my center, or throw it to my right wing, so I make sure they have a 2-on-1 or an odd-man rush. And that's what I see a lot with Trouba. And when the more talented you get, the more other teams will make you pay. Now, Trouba's kind of checked that a bit. Lindgren, I got a lot of his game. He's got a lot of moxie to him. Fox, like I think he has the potential to be like a Brian Leach type player if he really works on his defensive game. Keandre Miller can be physical, but he's young. Nico Mikola, I liked him on the Blues. I think thus far for you guys, he's done pretty well. And Brandon Schneider's just, like you call him, Baby Trubes. He's only 21 years old. And he probably won't even hit his prime until he's 23, 24. I mean, with defensemen, it takes longer. Like, see how long it took Rasmus Dahlin to hit his prime, right? People were checking out on him on Buffalo because they got him at 18. And, like, I think Rasmus Dahlin is, like, 24, 25, and he's finally starting to have, like, a breakout year. Defenseman, it's one of the hardest, like, goaltending's the hardest in the NHL, but defense after goaltending's the hardest position to learn. It just is. Dahlin's 22, sorry, he's been in the league so long, but, like, it took him, like, 4 years to really get into his process. So,
well, I do want to say this about Trouba, because I've been paying a lot of attention, because him and Keandre Miller, they do a really good job, especially when teams want to try to get on the even or the odd man rush. The way that he puts a body and a stick on their stick to separate the rusher from the puck, Trouba's been doing an excellent job of that lately, where he's making positionally, where he positions himself going towards his goaltender defensively. He's been doing a really good job lately of breaking up a lot of potential scoring chances on the break. So him and Keandre have been doing a really good job of that. And so positionally, yeah, sometimes he'll go and chase that big hit, but I've seen that he's playing a more intelligent brand of defense lately.
To be honest, my personal take on our defense is I think that our top defensive pair is that of Trouba and Miller, and not as forecasted everywhere else where everybody says Lindgren and Fox. I think that's a lie. I think that it's definitely Miller and Trouba are our best two D-men on this defensive core, and Lindgren and Fox are like right behind them, but I think that they're the second pair. And then
I agree with that. I think your best defensive D-men are those two.
Yeah, and then with Mikola being added to the roster, with Schneider, Schneider's good. He's a pretty big kid. He hits well. He can move the puck. He has speed. You add Mikola, who also has an offensive game that wasn't being utilized
in St. Louis.
The Blues. No. You know what I mean? They wanted him to stay back. They never let him really skate out, but he can skate. I've watched a couple of games that he's been playing, and the guy's got wheels. He can really skate very well, and it doesn't cost, right? Because he's pretty smart, and maybe it's due to the fact that he had to play so much defensive hockey in St. Louis, but he may join the rush.
No one else was.
he may join the rush, but he gets back immediately. As soon as the puck is off his stick, that's the end of his rush. He curls back He gets in position, and he's rarely caught out of position, which is really good.
I think with the Rangers, with the addition of Tarasenko, where it seems like it's benefiting in ways I didn't necessarily see. I'm still not the biggest fan of that deal because I think you could have got Tarasenko for cheaper, my opinion. But that being said, looks like it's paying dividends. He's done an extremely good job of, kind of maybe taking some pressure off Panarin, or maybe just kind of that Russian connection, I guess. And it seems like they're really prospering. And I'll be very fair here. You have Shesterkin in that. When you go into the playoffs, goaltending is the most important position. And, Shesterkin can win you a series. I think he's proven that time and time again.
You said that you think that the Rangers could have got Tarasenko for cheaper. Well, I don't really understand that because he also got a young defenseman. It wasn't like a one player for a couple of players and a couple of draft picks. They also got back a defenseman in here. So if you think that the Rangers could have got him for cheaper, what do you think that they could have not given up in that package and still get both the defenseman and the winger?
Maybe a second rounder. Maybe it's just me with the first rounder, right?
I don't like first round. I don't like first round
with a conditional fourth rounder, which is essentially it's going to be a third because the Rangers are going to make the playoffs. I think you could have made another move, maybe a second rounder. There may be someone like the Wolfpack who could have added in that deal as a sweetener. I just think with this draft that's going to be so deep, you'd want to retain the talent. Now the Rangers got a plethora of prospects, and that was a lot of what people said in the comment section. I understand that. But to be very fair, I don't believe in having too many assets. I think you get as many as young prospects because for every prospect that hits, there's going to be 10 that fail, right? I mean, not every first-round pick goes in the NHL and lives up to their hype. That's just kind of been proven time and time again. But, I mean, like I said, is it a wild overpay? I wouldn't say that at this point. But if I could have gotten him for just a little bit cheaper, maybe kept that first rounder this year, I would have tried. But maybe they did, and maybe just St. Louis. It was a first round and a fourth round.
So the Rangers had 2 first round picks, so I guess they figured, and because the protection of it says that St. Louis gets the weaker of the 2 picks, so the Rangers still maintain the strongest pick. So maybe they felt like they could give that up and not really harm their future too much.
True. I guess just with having 2 first round picks in this upcoming draft that's so deep, like that gives you 2 potential NHLers. That's where I look at it. And I think people kind of knock that because I guess for me is that the Rangers won't be able to really retain Tarasenko. He'll be gone. Most likely.
Oh, hell no. They got no cap space for that.
Yeah, so he's going to be gone. This is a pure rental. And some people knock me for, I'll bring it up again, the whole cup contender thing. I don't bring cup contender lightly, right? Like there's like 2 to 3 teams usually a year that I'm like pure. Like last year with Colorado, it was Colorado and probably Tampa. That was it. Like those were the only 2 teams that were legitimately could like compete against one another. A lot of people throw away that name around a lot. Like, oh, they're a cup contender. They're a cup. Like they can win a Stanley Cup. They can go there, get hot, do well. But I just think with other teams around the Eastern Conference and Western Conference, there's better teams. Now, like I said, Shesterkin can steal you a series. It wouldn't be crazy to see the New York Rangers. It wouldn't be crazy to see the New York Rangers win the Cup this year. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying like people that I view like 80% winning the Stanley Cup this year. That's where I did. Like last year, it's not like last year. I'm not a homer. I'm not like, oh, the Bruins are gonna win the Cup this year. Like, nah, Colorado was absolutely murdering their competition, and Colorado's gonna be an interesting team. I don't know if Landeskog will be back this season, but they're gonna be an interesting team in the playoff because they have so much potential. But yeah, I mean, shit, the trades worked out thus far.
Question for Fajardo.
Trades, yes.
Oh, yep.
Because obviously, you and I were Rangers fans, so I'm gonna kind of put the spotlight on you. I'm gonna interrogate you right quick, put you on the spot, right? Because I know if I ask Captain Paul, do you really believe the Rangers are a cup contender this year? Paul's got no dog in the fight, but I'm gonna come to you, knowing what you know about lines 1 through 4 and defensemen 1 through 6. do you honestly believe that the Rangers have a probable shot, not possible, are they probable to go to and win a Stanley Cup this year?
All right.
As they're currently constituted.
As a fan, obviously, I'm always going to say yes, right? As an analyst, right? I'm going to take a look at everything and say that if things are in certain gear, going into the playoffs and play out throughout the playoffs, they have a legitimate chance because they're one of the deepest teams in the East. Like, you have Boston that has 4 lines, New York has 4 lines. There's other teams that don't have 4 lines. For example, Carolina are going to make the playoffs, but they're not going to make it all the way. And not because they don't have 4 lines. They actually have 4 lines. Paul and I had this conversation. They have 4 lines. They have a good solid team, but they don't have like an it factor, right? Like, you look at that team, they really just don't have an it, like something that's their niche, like something that they do. They grind out a lot of games. That's about it, right? But when you look at the Rangers, you have an it factor at goalie, right? You have it factors at defense, and you have it factors on offense. Boston, you look at the same thing. You have it factors everywhere as well, right? These are teams that if all their it factors are playing the roles, can easily make a Stanley Cup final appearance. So yeah, I do believe that they can make it to the Stanley Cups legitimately.
I'm gonna disagree with you, and it makes me sad because even as a fan, I'm always an analyst. So when you gave me the word soup, I was like, no, I don't really think it because he used bad words to say, yeah. Here's a problem. Here's a problem with the Rangers. And this is the difference between the Boston Bruins as they are currently constituted and the New York Rangers as they are currently constituted. You are 1,000,000% correct. The Rangers do have highly skilled players at all of the sensitive positions on the ice. But Boston also has that. But what the Rangers lack that the Boston has is a team identity. They know exactly how they want to play. They, like you said, like the way that the Rangers started the game against Calgary last night, it really did seem like they really did not have a plan. They were just on the ice, and you get as far away from your other defensemen as possible. You spread the ice, you go over there, but no real game plan. There's nothing that a team is going to say the Rangers want to do this. With Boston, their defensive acumen and the way that they it's almost like watching the 300. They have that defensive phalanx that when you watch them on the ice, you're like, how the fuck can anybody score against this team? There's their fucking identity. The Rangers don't have an identity. They have the skilled players. They have Cap has been very clear about this. You have a lot of young talent, but it's like, well, does the young talent have their reputation? Do they have that one thing that they're going to come to do? Like Jacob Trouba is going to clean hit your best player off the ice and put him in the locker room. That's his identity. Laffy Taffy, does he have an identity yet? Not yet. Capo Caco is almost invisible half the time. We love the guy, but it's like, where is the impact? Where is when a team goes to game plan, they're like, yo, I got to look out for number 24. I got to look out for number 13. You know what you're going to get with 93. You know what you're going to get from 10. You're starting to see what you can get from 91. But with these other players on the second and third line, it's like, okay, great. You're called the kid line. What exactly is it that you guys do? Boston doesn't have that problem. And this is why I've had this argument with Cap, because we love to do the show on the phone, right? I've had this argument. He said, well, what if we go out and we get Timo Meier? I said, Timo Meier may end up being a net negative because everybody has a certain – they have like a certain feel for each other on the ice, and they have that identity. You know where you're supposed to be. You know where you're supposed to be. I know that when I get possession of the puck in the defensive zone and I play it off the boards, I know that you are within 10 feet of where I'm going to throw that puck. Timo comes in, he may break that up. You might put him on the second line, and then whoever was on the second line now goes to the third line, and now you kind of shift everybody away. The reason why the Rangers is doing so well on offense is they've scored until last night. They had at least 4 goals in like 5 or 6 consecutive games. The thing is that they didn't have that good feel of each other. And then when you bring in Tarasenko, now you've kind of forced a kind of flow. Now Panarin is getting out in open ice. So bringing in the new player helped the Rangers because we don't really have a team identity. You bring in somebody who's supposed to be a star or a captain-like player, you bring that to Boston, you could end up kind of breaking the wheels, so to speak, trying to reinvent it. Does that make sense?
I mean, yeah, it makes sense. I think when it kind of comes down to it, this is where I look at it. New York Rangers have a lot of youth, a lot of potential, and I think they're just a couple years away. I don't think that's crazy to say. I think they're a year or two away. They have the
like
goaltender.
5 years away.
I mean, they don't have the cap space per se, right? But you're not going to retain Tarasenko most likely, right? Or
Mott.
Some of these, or Mott. You're not going to retain Mikola because he's 1.9. And there's maybe some ways you can navigate out. Halak comes off the books. Is there a guy ready in the AHL right now to take over the backup role? Not according to the statistics I have seen. But to be fair, the Wolfpack sucked this season. So it's hard to judge the goalie if there's no defense in front of them.
Right.
But when it kind of comes down to it, they can cut corners in some places. But, I mean, unfortunately, the reason why I say they're a couple of years off is just with the RFAs coming up, they just don't have cap space, and they need Lafreniere, they need Hedl and Kakko to take that next step next season. And yes, they've been utilized. Vajaro talked about this last night. They've been utilizing more second line role this season, or more towards the end of the season. But like they need to bona fide become a top 6 line production wise. Like they need to.
I think you're going to lose one of the two of them though.
56 points themselves. I mean that's possible. I don't know.
I don't see how they keep Kakko and Lafreniere. I don't see it. And
if I'm them, I'm keeping Lafreniere. Because first off, the name is baller.
I don't know, man.
I just love the name, bro. Lafreniere.
Yeah,
Kakko's
name has a flair to it, like Jeff Hookeboom. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Remember that? Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But is it Alexis Lafreniere? Like, dude, I sound French.
You don't like French people. You don't like French people. Come on, son.
Okay.
You're
a white marrying a French person.
Hold on, right? So when it comes to that line, right? You did mention something, so I wanted to highlight something you said. You said that they don't have an identity. I think throughout this season, to this point now, I don't know if you've noticed what their identity's been. And how each individual player is now doing particular things, right? Kakko's role is literally, I'm going to go get the puck and I'm going to be the playmaker on the boards. That's his role, right? And he finds whether it's Lafreniere or Hedl. One of the and both of the other guys are literally, if the play is on the right-hand side, normally it's going to be, well, actually, those two guys rotate. Kakko's the main guy on that line that creates what they have, that creates their magic. Whether it's off the boards, or coming into the zone, he's turning into their playmaker to set them up. He may not get a lot of glory for it, but if you watch the last 5 games, he's created plays because he's played good defense. He's taken the puck. Right? He's gone into the boards and grinded and made something out of nothing. He's the heart and soul of how that line is going to work. And I think that his identity is I'm the go-get-it guy. Right? Whereas the other two guys, they're now starting to solidify themselves, well, more Hedl than Lafreniere when it comes to this. I'm going to be the guy who puts the puck in the net. That's it.
I mean, that's a fair point. Also, so one of the Senators trainers, I know you shared it, got nailed in the head. Well, hopefully he's all right.
I saw a lineman get nailed yesterday in the Rangers game with the puck in his leg.
Oh yeah,
that shit was crazy,
bro.
son.
Oh man, listen, listen. As a former player, right? You get hit there. First of all, there is no padding behind the leg at all, and on
No.
top of that, it was like they don't wear shorts, right? They have like these pants that have padding on the front. They have
Yeah,
no padding on the back. These referees, that shit hurts,
the puck
bro.
will find
Dude,
you
Oh
where
yeah,
you're not
dude,
protected.
I
I
have
ref
scars.
I refed in college from high school games and stuff like that. Oh god, like in there, it's obviously not as hard as shots, but we get hit like with a puck. It's just even if it's not that fast, it's like
Oh
ugh,
man,
it's not a great
I
feeling.
always get
It's
mad
not
at
a
the
great
linemen
feeling.
when they get hit by the puck. It's like, get the fuck out the way. You're interrupting the play. Like, go somewhere.
Uh, uh, so Taylor Hall is headed to the fourth line. I wouldn't go that far. He brings a lot of energy. I think. While he's not getting the production, recently he's been kind of getting some points and stuff like that. I think he'll be fine. He brings the energy to that team and he's speed. I just think he needs to be a little bit more aggressive. Now, speaking of aggressive, Ryan O'Reilly to the Toronto Maple Leafs. What do you think of that trade there, Fajardo? That was kind of that was a big one in a way. That is going to be Toronto's only move because they have legitimately zero cap space left. They bring in Ryan O'Reilly, 2019 Cup winner for the St. Louis Blues, known as a defensive
Who's their captain?
center, a Selke winner. He was their captain. Really kind of respected in a lot of ways. They played the Montreal Canadiens last night and they beat them down, but that's not really impressive because you're playing essentially an AHL squad.
Yeah.
So, and like, I'm not disrespecting Montreal. They got players that can, will eventually be good. But right now, it's the Laval Rockets, not the Montreal Canadiens, in my opinion. So, when it kind of comes down to it, what do you think of Ryan O'Reilly going to the Leafs
The
there,
Houston Rockets.
Fajardo?
I mean,
Houston.
for them, it just creates more depth, right? It doesn't help what they're lacking, right? But it does create more depth for them. As far as the forwards go, this is a guy that obviously has taken more steps than pretty much most of their current players because he's actually won something or made it past the first round. And he can probably help with the leadership role and guiding in like, hey, this is what we have to do. Not only in the playoffs, but in the regular season as we get towards the playoffs, kind of help guide them that way. But they failed to address their biggest weakness, which is goaltending and defense. That whole back end is just very questionable, right? And as you've seen with a lot of teams that go into the playoffs, when you have that part of your game that's questionable, that's the part that gets picked on. That's the part where it will cost you to lose. Their forward situation, I mean, they didn't really need another forward. They've been scoring, tons this season. They've got the offensive firepower. It's just the defensive side, and they didn't do anything to address that. Which, if I was a Toronto fan, I'd be highly upset that they made this move, because it just doesn't make sense. Yeah, you gotta experienced, Stanley Cup caliber player, for very cheap, for 1.8, which is lower than all the other guys that has never won it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, on your team. But what is he gonna do? He can't play defense unless that's a secret move. You brought him in, called him, and say, "Hey, come play defense," because nobody else can. So get over here. But
I mean,
it doesn't
You
make
can ask
sense.
you can ask Austin Matthews to slide over to D.
You can ask Austin Matthews to go ahead and slide over to the bench, but that's cool, right? Well,
I mean, I agree
don't
with
like
you.
it.
I mean, listen. Last night they kind of switched it on Cap Friendly to put Tavares on the left wing.
Oh yeah, I see that.
which is interesting. They did play him on the wing. I don't think that's how it's gonna pan out. Tavares is more of a natural center. Ryan O'Reilly is having a down year. Last year he had a pretty solid year, but he's having a down year this year. And is Ryan O'Reilly gonna really change anything for Toronto? No.
I'm gonna tell you where they got that idea, though. Hold on, before you even go on, I'll tell you where they got that idea. It's funny because they got that idea from what happened with the Islanders when the Islanders got Bo Horvat and they moved Barzell to the wing. That doesn't work for everybody. You know what I mean?
No,
Barzell's always been like more of a winger type center anyway, because he likes to streak all the way. He likes to carry, play with the puck, and so on and so forth to create chances and be an offensive juggernaut. Basically, is what Barzell is. Tavares is not that type of player, so to have him on the wing is a total waste.
I think with Tavares, like he's still a really good all-star player, very very fucking good. But when it kind of comes down to it, O'Reilly and Tavares doesn't make sense. Like, and maybe this is me being crazy. Matthews isn't amazing defensively. The one guy I would consider moving to the wing would be Matthews. So you just free up his offensive game and let that dude just be a fucking powerhouse. He's gotten a little bit better defensively. I don't have the analytics in front of me right now, so maybe his numbers are far better than last year's. But I think it would make more sense to have like a O'Reilly Tavares center group up if that's what they want to do. If they want to have Ryan O'Reilly in their top six. But I mean, I don't really don't think it moves the needle. I think Ryan O'Reilly is a solid player. I don't think he puts you over the edge. And like when it kind of comes down to it, Toronto's got to prove to me they can win at least a playoff series before I even discuss them winning a cup. Like they got to prove to me they can win, and I'm not sure. This decor, like Giordano's old, right? He's had a good season, but he's old. TJ Brody can be up and down. Morgan Riley is more of a number 2 defenseman masquerading as a 1 because Toronto doesn't have a franchise defenseman. Liljegren's played solid this year, but Rasmus Sandin and Hall can be up and down. And goaltending, I mean, Samsonov and Murray have been good this year, but Matt Murray again is hurt. It's like he steps on a Lego and he's out for 6 weeks. Like he is never healthy. And it sucks because, like, on a personal level, it's nice to see a redemption arc. But my man can't catch a break. Like, and I laughed at them signing it. I remember we made the video, like, this is going to be one of the worst tandems in the league, and it didn't turn out to be that way. They played far better than expected. So, you have to ask yourself, now, Samsonov is off because he's got a flu, right? So, they have, like, 2, essentially, AHLers playing Wall and Colligren manning the net right now for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I'm not going to really hold much against them right now. But I have to ask, is Samsonov going to win you a playoff series? I think he's a very good goalie. I think he could be an average starter, above average starter in the NHL. I think he's having a fantastic year because he is an RFA at the end of this year, if I believe. Yep, he's an RFA at the end of this year. It's a contract year. He wants to make that money. He wants to do this. But he has no proven track record in the playoffs. And we've both seen it in the past. I think all of us have. Goalies that have had fantastic regular seasons that have just crumbled away in the postseason because of the pressure. So, can Samsonov duplicate this success from the regular season into the postseason? That's what's going to be most interesting. There's too many what-ifs for me for Toronto for me to think, like, oh, they're instantly a cup contender. I don't think this moves the needle. They're going to face Tampa Bay. Might go to Game 6, might go to Game 7. I just think Tampa's too deep for them. My opinion.
Well, I'll say that there's the elephant in the room as far as moving the needle is concerned with this move with O'Reilly going to Toronto and then maxing out the cap space. The white elephant in the room is it's going to send that ripple effect throughout the league because Patrick Kane said that he would only his non-movement clause in his contract that he would only waive that for 2 teams, the New York Rangers and the Toronto Maple Leafs. And guess who's done making moves until the deadline? The Rangers and the Maple Leafs. So now, we're in a situation where not only does it affect Patrick Kane, but also Jonathan Toews, because if Kane moves, then that affects what happens with Jonathan. And now both of the teams have now made their moves for the deadline. What happens with Patrick Kane now?
Well, it's funny because that was actually going to be the next topic. Let's have the conversation. Good segue here. Let me riddle off Patrick Kane's stats this far this season. 51 games played, 11 goals, 26 assists for 37 points. The team's not great around him. He is a playmaker. I mean, when you have Max Domi on your first line, you're just fucked. There's just not much there when it comes to the Chicago Blackhawks. Really,
An agitator on the first line. Not
yeah,
good.
he's more of a top end. He's a second liner, but that's it. You're a competitor if he's on your third line. Anyways, that is an interesting segment because he's been pouting and publicly stated, by the way, he wants to be moved here or here. That is like one of the rare times that's actually happened to players. Just like, you know what? Chicago was nice, and I won my cups, but kind of want to go to Toronto or Buffalo, and if I don't go there, I'm going to be pretty angry. And he seemed upset in that interview when he didn't get traded with Tarasenko.
No, he got mad when the Rangers got Tarasenko.
Yeah,
he made public comments on the trade.
Yeah.
Which is very rare, and it kind of shows.
I don't think I've ever seen that before in American pro sports.
I've seen it in basketball, but I think like hockey, it's very
where a player on one team is mad because two other teams made a trade.
I think it was like Antoine. I remember a situation with Antoine Walker for the Celtics. Like more like this was years ago, but he was kind of like he made a public comment about like how a certain player got traded and the Celtics didn't get him, and that like it was something like that. It was not necessarily the same correlation, but it was around that same.
Because LeBron just complained that he didn't get Kyrie.
Yeah, exactly. So I think when it kind of comes down to it with Patrick Kane, I still think he's a fantastic hockey player.
He's also got that hip issue.
That's successful. But let's be fair. A lot of teams embellish that shit. Because Brad Marchand just had a hip procedure this offseason. And he's producing like crazy. Other teams just want to lowball you. Oh, wait, he's got a lingering hip issue. Well, instead of that second round pick, or maybe I'll give you a fifth. Right? Because
I know somebody personally dealing with hip issues. And that shit is like, that shit is debilitating.
Yeah, I know. I am that friend. I think when it kind of comes, well, soon enough, I can't wait to have the surgery here in a little bit. But when it kind of comes down to it, Patrick Kane, I still think has a lot left in the tank. He's 34 years old. I feel like his game ages well. Because it's not like he's a pure burner. It's not like he's just that's the only aspect of his game. He's got fantastic vision. And usually playmakers age pretty well. So I think he's got a couple of years, maybe 2 to 4 years left of high production in the right situation. Now, I don't see him going anywhere. Would you rank him against Tarasenko? I think he's better than Tarasenko, personally.
Because from what I hear, the Rangers said that the price was too high. So if you have a guy dealing with a lingering issue, and they're asking for the sun, the moon, and the stars, then you might start looking elsewhere, even if you think that he's a better player than the alternative.
No, and that's a fair point. Maybe the asking price was a little bit too ridiculous on Patrick Kane. I mean, I would argue giving up a first right now for Patrick Kane would be a bit much, but and especially with that massive cap hit.
And you also don't have any leverage because he's already stated that that's where he wants to go. So you lose leverage in the negotiation.
It is kind of weird, though. I'll say in this aspect, right? Like if Patrick Kane did a 3-team trade like they did with Toronto, Minnesota, and St. Louis. St. Louis. They can kind of they could have made it work. But let's just call it what it is. The Patrick Kane, there's no cap space available in Toronto. There's no cap space left in New York. If I'm Patrick Kane, I just want to get moved to a situation where I'm at 60 because he's not going to resign to Chicago. That's just it's not going to happen. He's a UFA at the end of the year. If I'm Kane, I'm like, why don't I go to Carolina? Why don't I go to Boston? Why don't I go to pretty much name a top team within their division, right? Like, why don't I go to one of these teams so I can at least compete for the end of the season? And then if I don't like it there, I can leave, right? Like, he could go to Dallas. He could go to
I think he hates those guys. I think he loves Chicago. I think that he loves the way he's been treated by the front office and the fans, and he doesn't want to play against their division rivals, and I don't blame him.
I mean, there's an aspect to that. I get that, but there's so many better situations. I mean, ML brings up a solid point. McDavid, yep, they go to the Oilers, and like, mind you, they don't play a lick of defense at times, but goddamn, McDavid's a historic
scary,
production run. historic run. I wish the Bruins had a player like that.
Anytime
But
they
when
broke the
it
puck into the Rangers zone, they scared the shit out of me, man.
when
Oh
it
my god. I was
when,
my heart was like this the whole game.
Yeah, same, same.
there's so many good other teams you could go to, and it's weird. Like I get it because Toronto's outside of Buffalo, like an hour. That's where he's from. The Rangers because he knows the people like Panarin over there. But I mean, you could go to different franchises and really finish out the season. I don't think he's getting moved. I don't see it.
No. I saw on a fan site they were actually asking a question of whether or not the Blackhawks would just shut down Kane for the rest of the season. Like they're legitimately talking about that as an option because there's nowhere else that he would actually okay a trade to.
I mean, I don't know if he'd want to do that. I mean, maybe he's just so fed up with the rebuild and the Rockford Ice Hogs roster that is currently playing against
They
the
have
Chicago
37
Blackhawks.
points, right?
Yeah,
The team?
like it's no the team. Oh my god, yeah.
I think they have like
the team
37 points.
It's
39
39. You're cutting
Yeah, they
them
just
too
won a
short
game.
there. They are the worst team in the NHL, and I feel like if you lose to them, you should relegate to the AHL. But, yeah, I mean, there's no argument
Or the
there.
NBA G
League. I like it's going to be interesting to see how it goes there. I don't know if they would shut him down though. I mean, he's a couple 100 points away, so he's not going to ever become the #1 scorer in Chicago Blackhawk history, unless for whatever
he's also
reason
hurt
he
and
re-ups
going
there.
nowhere.
I know it's going to be very interesting to see. Do you think Patrick Kane's going to go anywhere, Fajardo?
I don't. I mean, last ditch effort. I mean, I don't see anybody really. Well, first of all, he's not going to anywhere besides those two teams. So no, he's not going to go to either one of those teams. You know, the Rangers, they're set. Toronto, they've done all their moves. Neither one of the two teams has any cap space. Neither one of the two teams has anybody that they're looking to move. You know, neither one of them are in a situation where they're like, okay, well, who on our roster, you know, can we give up to bring him in where he'll just slide right in, and whose cap space can we give to get him here anyway? And neither one of them have that type of player that they're willing to give up, or that have both the you know, the cap hit and the skill set.
Yeah.
So
I know where Kane is going.
Home.
He's gonna go make a turkey sandwich. But as far as going to another team, I think that he stays with the Blackhawks. The Blackhawks
He
after
finishes
the
out
deadline.
the season as a Blackhawk. Yeah.
The only team that would make sense, and I don't know if he'll do it because it's his hometown. The Sabres are only 2 points back. They're 3 points back from the second wildcard spot. They've been doing really good. They're 6-3-1 in their last 10. There's so much promise. They could actually eat all of that freaking cap for 1 year. They have $18 million in cap space. Like, they could make it work. That's why I was surprised he didn't say Buffalo. Like, Buffalo could probably get, like, if I'm Chicago, like, it'd be nice if I don't have to retain anything. Now, it doesn't really matter to them. They're not going to compete this year. But it would just be an easy fit. But for whatever reason, you left Chicago.
Remember we talked about before. Part of the reason why he was considering Toronto is because of the proximity to his home in Buffalo, and you were saying, well, Buffalo actually is home. And then my point is like it's a little different for a lot of players. They want to be near home, so it's a short travel to home. But there's a lot of pressure and a lot of unwanted social stuff that comes along with actually playing for your hometown team. So I think he wants to be close. I don't think he actually wants to be there. I mean, it doesn't matter how good they are.
Fair point, but I'd rather deal with that for like a couple months than be stuck in Chicago. Just saying. They're not very good, and I think that's got to break your soul a little bit to be stuck in a organization that is really, really not that good. The only thing that Chicago's got going for them is they got a couple first round picks this year, a couple second round picks, a couple third round picks. They'll probably be able to rejuvenate their farm system. That is
He's probably got through. Yeah, that's probably a reality.
that's probably that's probably the reality. All right. Let's get into the next subject here. Where in the world is Timo Meier gonna be headed? He is a San Jose Shark winger. He plays left wing, right wing. He's from Switzerland, so he's he's a neutral person at heart. 57 games played, 31 goals, 21 assists for 52 points. He is by far their best player on a roster that is just struggling to get by right now.
He's not stuck in neutral. Yeah. He's playing.
No, he's playing. But I think, there's a lot of good things going on. I mean, Erik Karlsson has 74 points this season for San Jose. Jesus, he's going like prime form.
And what's his plus minus?
A -3, so not good.
Yeah.
So the San Jose is not great, but getting back to Timo Meier, this would be a guy that most contenders should look. He's got a $6 million cap hit. He's an RFA at the end of the year. He's 26 years old. And there's been rumors of teams like New Jersey possibly being in on him. I think they want to add another piece because they saw the rivals, Devils, make a move, but they have zero cap space available, so they'll kind of have to move a piece. Timo Meier goes to the Devils. That gives them more of a bona fide, proven player on the wing. Currently, they have
I'd be scared.
Tatar on the first line left wing. That would legitimately give them a very solid top six. Where would they open up that cap space? I mean, you can move a guy like Miles Wood, who's $3.2 million. You could have San Jose retain half, but obviously you'd have to give up some prospects. There's some things that they could do to kind of manipulate cap to make it work. I don't think Timo Meier would move the needle, though, for the Devils in this aspect. I'm not a big fan of their goaltending. So I think goaltending in the playoffs is paramount. I just don't know if they have that. So you get Timo Meier, maybe they go a little bit further and they get a little bit further depth, but I don't know. I think it'd be a great addition.
If your goaltender's giving up goals, you just score some more goals.
I'll give you some place where it would probably work out best for him in the overall. It'd probably be Minnesota. They have the cap space. They have a good, well-rounded team that can play some good offense. You add his firepower to it, and they become a real genuine threat in that Western Conference to go deep.
They have an option. Actually, go ahead.
Because Fajardo, I think it was you that said that the problem with the Carolina Hurricane is that they don't have an it factor, especially on offense. I don't know what their cap situation is, but if you move Meier over there, that can definitely give them some more validity. As an it factor type of guy on offense.
Yeah.
They have zero. Now to be fair to Carolina fans, let's be, because the Carolina fans are ravenous. Aho's got 48 points in 48 games played. Svechnikov has 46 points in 55 games played. Martin Necas, a young guy, 55 games played, 22 goals, 29 assists for 51 points. Like, they have some players over there. They have a very solid top 9. Where their strength is their depth. Do they have a superstar per se on their roster? No, but they have a couple all-stars. Defense is also Brett Burns. He's been proven over the years, but I just don't want to be completely slanderous to Carolina fans where they will murder me in my sleep.
Sean Mann seems to have it out for Hall. What's Sean Mann's problem with Taylor Hall?
Well, okay. So Taylor Hall, some fans aren't necessarily super happy with him. They feel like he brings speed, but he's not producing enough. I personally think he brings a lot of hustle to his game, and I think there's more to be had there. But I'll be very fair. He needs to be more aggressive. He needs to shoot the puck more. He's on a line with Coyle and Frederick, and it's not like he's playing with offensive dynamos. And when it kind of comes down to it, I don't know. Meyer will be younger. I guess if you did move Hall, I wouldn't completely hate it if it was for Meyer because you get younger, but then you have to retain. You may have to make sure that you retain him because Hall is under contract. That's the biggest thing. Hall you actually have complete control of going forward, and Hall still got a lot of at least solid hockey left. He doesn't become a free agent until 2025, so you got 2 more years at $6 million per year of control. So that's the.
And I think Timo Meyer has a weird RFA stipulation that makes him stupid expensive if you try to re-sign him after the season.
I mean, I think Sean, I'll say this to kind of on your point. I've also said that in the video I made. I made that in a video I made where I said Hall needs to be more aggressive and he needs to shoot. Way too cute and passes the puck. I absolutely agree with that. He has a great shot. Like Pavel Zacha, and I mentioned this to Fajardo, mentioned this to Evil here. Zaka's blossomed lately because he's shooting the damn puck. He has a hell of a shot. That's all Hall needs to do is just shoot the puck. You're on line with 2 guys that are more passers and more puck possession guys. You need to be the shooter. Getting to Timo Meyer, I mean, looking around the league, I mean, Boston would be a great fit for him. I mean, Craig Smith is making $3.1 million. You get San Jose to retain half the cap. Craig Smith has kind of done better recently, but let's be honest, Meyer is 10 times better than Smith, so you would instantly upgrade your roster. I get the point of maybe not messing with chemistry, but am I going to go? I'd be going from a 10-point player to over a 50-plus point player. That will significantly improve your team.
But there's a poison pill attached.
Meyer and Hall.
That's the poison pill right there.
That's the crazy thing. Yep.
So it's not just a production on the ice. You have to factor this in too.
I think when it kind of comes down to it, right, with the $10 million qualifier, let's just call it what it is, right, with Boston. If we're going to talk about Boston here, this is it. This is the last year. Because Bergeron and Krejci are most likely done. This is their last dance. This is where everyone comes together, and most likely, this is their last chance to the cup. Because after this, once Bergeron and Krejci, there's nobody in the system that can take over that role. So you're going to have Zacha and Coyle be your first and second line center, most likely, if Bergeron doesn't come back and Krejci doesn't come back. And while Coyle, I am a fan of his game. I think he's a little bit overpaid. I'm a fan of his game. He's better slotted in a third line. He's not a top 6 line guy, in my opinion. Zacha, I mean, he's shown me flashes. Maybe could be a second line center, but we don't have a bona fide number 1. And I agree with everyone here in the comment section with Sean and all Ali Star. The Bruins, some of them do get way too cute and pass. I mean, Call should be the shooter on that line. At times, with Pasternak, gets too cute at times. I just want him to rip it because he has an amazing shot. But this is the last year for the Bruins. They need to make sure they invest because, like, you don't want to be looking back like, we could have traded that pick and made it happen. Now, some Bruins fans are against Lysell being moved or this, yada yada yada. But at some point, we just got to look at it. Bergeron's been one of the most favorite Bruins of all time, one of my favorite players of all time because of the way he plays and the passion he plays and how he plays hurt all the time. David Krejci came back out of retirement for 1 year. And I say just buy in. Might not work, right? Timo Meyer might walk, but due to the RFA, we would be getting some form of compensation back if another team signs him. So, I don't know. I just say go for it. Fully sink in. Bruins decor is pretty solid. Maybe you could get another 6th, 7th defenseman, so you have a little bit of extra depth. But, I mean, they have the goaltending, defense, and offense. Like, add another piece like Meyer, and it's like, just hand over the cup already. So, but no. Like, I think when it kind of comes down to it, all jokes aside, he'd be a fantastic addition. But I don't think it will happen. I don't think Don Sweeney makes that move. So we have to look at other areas. Minnesota Wild, that could work. They don't really have any cap space, but the Minnesota Wild, that's actually a really good pick. They don't have like a really good second line left wing right now. Adam Beckman's currently been slotted in as a rookie, kind of going in there in and up and down the lineup. Minnesota actually legitimately would be a good destination for him. They'd have to move somebody.
I'm looking at all the teams, right? Like all well, the guys who have cap space for $6 million, right? And out of all the teams, that'll probably be the best fit for him because they play a similar style to San Jose. So he would flourish there, and he would help them flourish as a team. I think they would become a legitimate threat in the West.
Honest question though, does it happen because they're the same conference? That's the problem.
Same conference, maybe. Same division is more of it would be a bigger question.
Right. Yeah. So I definitely think it could happen.
But they are the same division though.
Oh, see, that's different.
Oh no, they are. No, sorry, I'm sorry. I was thinking Patrick Kane. Sorry, you're right. They're a different division. Sorry.
Yeah,
they're the Pacific Division and Minnesota Central. Sorry, I would. Go ahead.
If I was Minnesota, I would placate to that move completely. I would definitely go and try to get him because I just think it would take that team to the next level. Now, at the same cost is like, what is it going to cost you? Are you going to lose too much? And that's always the problem with a lot of these trades and where guys probably should go compared to where they do end up going is normally because of what your team is asking for in return, because nobody wants to feel like a loser in any trade. So if I give you this player and I get okay stuff back, that's not good enough. I need to feel like I won this because I'm losing a player and I need more in return. When that happens, it takes a little bit away from the game and a little bit away from what can happen. But I mean, it's the nature of the beast right now, right? It's like we're getting close to the trade deadline, and everybody's shopping whoever's available or guys that are even not available, and you're just gonna inquire, hey, what's it gonna cost me? And when you hear some of those prices, you're just like, yeah, I was just checking, I'm good. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's what happened with Patrick Kane and the New York Rangers. The New York Rangers like, well, he wants to come here, we could give you this, and this, and Chicago's like, no, we want everything. We want the garden and everything else in it. Like, no, you're good.
Yeah.
And Kane is a UFA after this year, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So if he really wants to go to the Rangers that bad, and they're able to move a contract here, make a trade there to free up cap space at the end of the season, then they didn't have to give up a bunch of first round picks and prospects.
Yeah.
They just get them at the end of the season.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a fair point. I mean, but I don't think. I mean, Patrick Kane's made a ton of money. His last contract, he made $10.5 million per year. Maybe he takes a discount. Maybe he takes a discount to go play in a situation where he can win. Like a Marian Hossa type player at the end of his career. Marian Hossa helped them win a cup. Maybe he takes that same role. Yep. I mean, that's the same point I say, Sean. Gazaka has one of the best shots on the team. He's finally shooting it. And Taylor Hall could easily do that, but Hall just likes to use his speed and be too cute. And hopefully that completely snaps out of that. If I was the coach, I'd be like...
Sorry.
If I was the coach, I'd put fucking bucket of sand tied to his pants and make him just shoot. Just sit there and shoot, damn it.
My greatest gripe with the Rangers and it consistently didn't matter who the coach was, is especially on the power play, they would be trying to make the perfect pass for 2 minutes, and then the penalty is killed. And it's like, can you just throw the fucking puck at the net, make something happen, and stop trying to, try to create a highlight they're never going to give you on ESPN because they don't respect hockey the way they should? Like, just move, get the puck to the open guy, screen the goaltender, let luck happen to you. Put yourself in a position where luck can work in your favor. But the Rangers would just never shoot the fucking puck. It's like, shoot the fucking puck. So I can see why Taylor Mann is irritated, because I've been known to yell at the TV for the same reason over the years.
I
It doesn't
mean-
even matter who was on the roster. It's always the same problem.
So, you know what? You gave me a good audible subject here because I want to have this conversation. Is ESPN NHL coverage trash? Because it is. I can't, like, oh my God. Like, I like the TNT boys, right? Like, they kind of made it, like, outside the NBA, or inside the NBA, excuse me, with the Shaq, Charles Barkley, Kenny, you know, and who's the white guy? I'm forgetting his name.
I always forget.
But but you know, really, they kind of really well around the cast. I got Bissonnette, Gretzky, and a really good panels. Mark Messier sometimes pops. Or was Mark Messier with ESPN? I'm trying to remember at this point. But
he did it for like, playoff run.
No, I think it was a TNT, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, was it? Okay, but
Okay.
I think when it kind of comes out, it's covered. It's trash. And like the ESPN Plus, and I have a subscription to it because I want to watch all these other different hockey games. I'm not the biggest fan of it. I think when it kind of comes down to it, the way they cover the games on ESPN, they don't even cover it, right? Like, do you see any of these debate shows taking on any NHL subjects at all? Like First Take or I know it's not the same company.
Thankfully, because they wouldn't know what the
Undisputed
fuck
for
we were
Fox.
talking about.
Right, but like you could bring in an analyst besides Barry Melrose, right? Like Barry Melrose is the only person that knows hockey ESPN.
You can bring us
Like-
in.
They only bring him in there because they like his hair.
Yeah, I mean, the hair's on point. And this isn't to knock Barry Melrose. I grew up watching NHL Tonight, and he was one of a big fixtures of my childhood. But when it kind of comes down to it, ESPN's coverage of the game is so bad. It's so poor. Even their NHL channel, right? Because like as everyone knows that watches this, I do like the clips, and that's where I pull clips from. I clip it from like Sportsnet. I clip from
Oh, Messier's on ESPN. Sorry.
from NHL. I thought so.
Yeah,
And
he's on ESPN.
when it kind of comes down to it, I go to the NHL on ESPN NHL on ESPN channel, and it sucks. Like the clips, like sometimes the audio doesn't work. They just don't give a shit. And
You know what
I guess
really
that's the
pissed me
problem
off?
I have.
You know
What's
what
that?
really pissed me off, Kat? I was watching, because they wouldn't let me watch my Rangers the way I like to watch it on MSG with my guys, right? And then they had it on ESPN, and they were missing the I think that power play went up, and the time left in the power play wasn't on the screen. Like,
Yeah.
the fuck? What's going on
It's-
here? It would just say
it's
power
just-
play with no
They don't care,
timer.
bud. They don't
Like,
care.
what the fuck are you doing?
Well, it's like stuff they got done right in 1995. They're fucking up now in 2023. Like, guys, it's really not that difficult. And like, listen, we went through the whole NHL deal. Remember Versus, Fajardo? Remember Versus
Oh, yeah.
when the NHL?
Yeah.
Oh, that doesn't even exist anymore. That channel doesn't even exist. The NHL has made such poor decisions in the past. Now, when they went away from ESPN initially, because ESPN coverage used to actually be pretty solid. I think, I don't know if they just don't believe in the game or whatever, but ever since they left ESPN, then they've come back to it. It doesn't get the same love. And like all these NHL shows are behind paywalls and they're on offshoot sites like ESPN Plus. Like it'd be nice if there was like an NHL Tonight on ESPN. Now, does anyone actually watch the channel itself anymore? Not as much, but it'd be kind of cool to flip on the channel or see segments on YouTube where the main channel itself is talking about hockey. I mean, the most famous clip from ESPN for hockey in the last couple of years with this contract has been Stephen A. Smith saying he knows nothing about hockey. That's the most famous clip. And it's just, the coverage is bad. The announcers are bad. I mean, I think Leah Hextall is one of the ESPN announcers, if I'm correct.
That's Ron
and
Hextall's daughter, right?
She's
She
awful.
was in the Olympic. She was in the Olympics.
I don't believe so.
I think she was an Olympic hockey player.
No, I don't believe she was a Olympic hockey player. I'll look that up. I can qualify. But like with Leah Hextall, she's awful. It's not because like some people, oh my god, you're sexist. No, I just legitimately like she calls it very poorly, and it's just like one of those things. Like, you know that drunk guy in the bar that's like slurring and super annoying. That's what it reminds you. Oh, like her voice is breaking middle call.
Ron's her
But-
cousin. Ron Hextall's her cousin.
Or cousins, yeah. So I don't think she ever played Olympic hockey, but anyways, she could have played hockey. I'm not dissuading that she does no hockey knowledge. I'm just saying she's not a good analyst. But the ESPN coverage is terrible.
Oh no, she doesn't. Oh man, don't get me started, Cap, because I thought that she actually played. And actually, we talked about this on Filthy Casual MMA Watch Party on the Talking Shit podcast, and I was talking about how a lot of times they have these women that infiltrate traditional male spaces, and it's like, I'll accept you if you actually know what you're doing. You have some sort of history playing. I don't need you to be commentating on what's going on in the mind of a player if you never played, and they just putting you in that position mainly because you have a vagina. That is an issue for me. Like, you can't be taking away opportunities from guys that actually know what they're doing and they've played the sport, they've covered the sport, and they just put you in there for, you know, some sort of affirmative action type hire. Like, we don't necessarily need you here if you don't know what you're talking about.
She actually got that because she used to do the play-by-play for Sportsnet, covering games. So she worked her way out from there. She used to do play-by-play. So, you know, she obviously watched the game and was able to, you know what she was talking about doing the play-by-plays. Like, you got to know what you're talking about when you do play-by-play, right? So that warranted her to her current position, but that's where she started.
Well, I'll say this. I just, watching her, she's not a great announcer. Like, even if she just played high school, I don't really care in particular with that stuff. I just want you to be good at your craft. And ESPN, like, if I'm paying you hundreds of millions of dollars, like, put someone on there that's actually pretty good.
Thank you.
And then when it becomes to the ESPN itself, like Alex Starstead here,
please give him
all
some
of
love.
all of it is NFL coverage.
14 hours a day in the off season. Oh my God! Even with
I mean, Max Kellerman is kind of a clown, but I'm not a big fan of Max Kellerman.
You say that all the time too. You're not even lying about that.
I legitimately don't. I think he's just a pompous prick that always gets his stuff wrong and is way too high of an opinion of himself. He was a trash rapper and a trash analyst, but
but he knows
when it kind of comes down, Max goes boxing, dude. Like, yeah, because people really care about boxing. That's my argument to that.
Corrupt as hell.
Listen, I enjoy boxing, but let's just call it what it is. It's been a dying sport. So, like, why is a guy that supports a dying sport gonna insult one that actually is starting to grow? So, gonna wipe my hands of that trash.
Corruption.
But
on the flip coin to that, thank you, ESPN, for being so bad at your job that you give us an opportunity to do what we do.
Absolutely. we appreciate you. Well, and this is the thing, right?
Like I'm an expert. You guys know way more about hockey than I do. But you'll be proud of me, though. I actually started teaching Mrs. Evil last night about hockey and how the game works and why it's the most exciting game in all of North American pro sports, bar none. There is not a more, and baseball is my first love. Ain't shit more exciting than NHL hockey in North America. Period. Point blank. End of story.
I love hockey, bro. I gave up football for hockey, so.
Yeah, I mean, listen, local radio like 98.5, they do a little bit more hockey coverage. I mean, WEI, I'm not a big fan of because I feel like they've got stale over the years, but
I take offense to this, though. I take offense to this. You have a team that is having a historic season, and the Boston Red Sox just had pitchers and catchers report, and you're not talking about Bruins right now. I have a problem with that.
I think with 98.5 though, like with Felger and Maz, I do hear them talking quite a bit of Bruins though, a lot of Bruins segments because like they're like they're the premier local show. I think when it kind of comes down to it, I think there's a lot of coverage, especially with Nesson and stuff like that. There's other mediums, but yeah, I think this is actually kind of another thing I want to say is YouTube. Because we talked about ESPN and how trash is for its coverage. Is YouTube replacing it, though? Because if you look at it, all numbers, all down, all sports, the numbers are down on the ESPN main channel, right? So
Yes, because people are cutting the cord.
Is people like ourselves making more individual content? Well, I mean, like, one of the things I enjoy doing is I like making those smaller videos. I was like 2 to maybe 4 minute videos. Sometimes I make them longer with clips and stats and stuff like that. Like, I have fun doing that, right? Because it's like you're able to kind of break down a point. Now, sometimes your stuff will age like poor milk when you make a bad take, but I think that's half the fun.
Stop talking about Tarasenko and you'll be just fine.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I think when it kind of comes down to it, I like making predictions, even if I'm right or wrong. Like,
Right.
like there was a Buffalo take I had early in the season where they're gonna go in the postseason, and then they went on like a 7-game losing streak. So like a week later, I make a video roasting myself, and I was like, of course, I make a video saying you're gonna go, and then you go on a 7-game losing streak. It's just funny because it's like I think predictions. I think what some people get
Talk
wrong.
shit about that Rangers trade, and it went on a 7 game.
Yeah. Dude, listen. If I talk positively, expect the team to tank. If I expect, if I talk negatively, expect them to be
like, you don't want, you don't want the locker room talking about your team. It's bad juju.
But the only team that hasn't been affected is Boston, but they're just on a run. When it kind of comes down to it, though, I think making predictions is fun, and I think some people interpret like, oh, he's having this point, and this is like when new information comes along, I change my mind. That's right. It is what it is, right?
I have a question for you. I have a question for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Going into the playoffs, right? Well, looking at the entire season right before you go into playoffs. We all know that it's good to get hot at the right time. You guys have been hot. You guys have been hot all season.
Jesus.
Okay. I have no arguments with that one.
Oh God.
Oh, you need to start watching MMA, man, because sometimes them ladies be having some ham hocks, son.
Yeah, they do. But my question to you is, you guys have been hot all season, right? Mm-hmm. Do you fear losing that heat in the playoffs?
No.
Okay.
And the reason why I don't. Now, if this was a young team, I would. If anything, we kind of cooled off relatively recently, and then we're starting to heat back up again. Jake DeBrusk just got back, so he's going to kind of put some more enthusiasm in the lineup. And I don't know. I don't see that as a worry because you have Bergeron, Marchand, DeBrusk. I'm not worried about Zacha, Krejci, Pastrnak. Not worried about Hall, Coyle, and Frederick. I'm not too worried. I think when it kind of comes down to it, this is relatively the leaders on this team have been through this, have won a cup, have lost a cup. They've been through playoff battles before, and I'm not too worried. And it's not like their decor is extremely young. Like a lot of them are veterans at this point. They know what's expected of them. And like McAvoy, Lindholm, the two best defensemen on the season, or on this team, Grzelcyk's had a great year. Carlo, while I kind of fear for his health, and it's a whole different subject. He's played, okay at times. He's played mediocre because of the whole, I believe, concussions. Forward has played amazing this year. Connor Clifton has kind of really flourished under Montgomery. And Linus Ullmark, while the team in front of him is good, has played good. The team in front of him is good. He's played great. And I don't know. We're just too deep of a team for me to worry about us falling off. I just think there's too much production because if one line falls off, you have two other lines that can score, and the defense, it's just there's just so much depth there. And then Linus Ullmark's been a rock all season, and then for whatever reason, let's say he gets something happens, knock on wood, and you got to go to Swayman. I think Swayman's a very capable goalie who's come into his own later part of this season. So, I don't see that happening. Ullmark has been like on a historic run, but I'm not worried about it. I'm really not. I will agree. I agree with Sean. I would like to see Hall and DeBrusk on the same line at times because they're like, when they get moving, it's lethal. I agree.
Okay, can I show? Because Sean said something about Daniel Kang, so I did a little bit of research, just as a little bit of he was talking about them legs. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy. Yeah.
So
Give some credit to Mr. Sean, man, because you ain't gonna catch me watching. You are not gonna catch me watching golf. I don't even care if men are playing. I'm not watching that shit. But yeah, he wasn't lying. He wasn't lying about them legs, man.
All right, so we spent a lot of time. So we've actually spent a lot of time covering a lot of the Eastern teams, right? Let's touch a little bit on the Western teams, right? Dallas being currently tied for first place with Vegas. How much of a shock is that to you, Evil?
Well,
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, you asked me directly. I'm actually about to check out the. I was about to check out the standings right now.
All right, how about you, Paul? Because I know you and I, we obviously did a show coming into the season about all the conferences and all the divisions, and we gave our thoughts. And I know that both of those teams were not at the top. I know that they were kind of like towards the middle, bottom.
Yeah, like towards the end of it, yeah. Like the third team in the division, maybe fourth.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be fair here, though. Let's be very blunt. None of those predictions went well because Boston, I envisioned fourth place, right? Did you see Carolina as the number 1 seed? I didn't.
We had Carolina like fourth.
Yeah.
Well,
Dallas,
let's check out let's check out Dallas real quick. Dallas has 12 overtime losses, 30, 15, and 12. So they've kind of come down a little bit in their last 10 to 3, 2, and 5, and on a 4-game losing streak. So right now, they're not extremely sharp. They have a goal differential of 37. That's all right. I'm not in love with that mark. I mean, they're playing a lot of close games. From what I'm seeing just from the standings, I'm not like particularly like wowed by them, but they're destined for the playoffs. So the only thing you really need to do is get in, right?
So I think when it comes down to it, like Dallas surprised me. Vegas kind of surprised me in some aspect because of their goaltending situation. But like, let's talk about Dallas. Dallas, Ottinger has played really well this season. He's done his thing. He's 42 games played, 2.2 goals against average, 927 save percentage, 23 wins, 7 losses. Like, he is living up to his potential, right? Because when he came into the scene, when he went in that playoff run, was fantastic. But I mean, Jason Robertson, did anyone expect him to have this season 57 games played, 34 goals, 37 assists, 71 points? In a season where McDavid already has 100, right? So we kind of forget how hard 71 is to get. That is a phenomenal season. He has been their best player by far. Rope Hintz, 50 points in 49 games played. Joe Pavelski, the unaging wonder, the youthful man forever, 57 games played, 50 points. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. Now, like, when I look at guys like Tyler Seguin, who's 31, 7 years younger, and only 35 points in 57 games played, and then Jamie Benn, he's kind of had a decent year, 47 points in 57 games played. Like, those guys I want a little bit more, but Dallas has played well, and they have good defense. They have Heiskanen, they have Miller, they have Lindell, they have Hakanpää, Sutter, Niels Lundqvist, who we were relatively high on when he got dealt. Now, he's got a -6 thus far in the season, but he's a young D-man that has a lot of promise. Dallas has pretty much everything. They have a solid top 4, a solid top 6, and a great starting goalie, and that's gonna bring you places. It's gonna bring you places.
I gotta say this: if Dallas was in the East, they'd have the 7th best record in the conference if they were in the East.
They're extremely well. So like, I mean, what your thoughts on Dallas there, Fajardo?
They're definitely a surprise to be leading the way in the West pretty much all season. We definitely did not expect them to be number 1, but we did have high hopes. And we definitely had high hopes for Ottinger and how he would play out, because we said he's good, but it's all going to depend on how good the defense in front of him is. Because, he can make all the acrobatic saves. He's proven that. Can he stay consistent was one of the questions. Obviously, he's proving he can be. But, yeah, I mean, Robertson, I think, is that key factor for them. He's a difference maker. Without him, I don't think they would be where they are now. I think they at least
No.
be maybe
No.
third or in the wild card spot.
Absolutely.
But because I mean, last year they barely got in, and this year, they're gonna get in. They're definitely on stronger legs going into the playoffs this year. But yeah, I think they've been super exciting. On the flip coin of that, and the Pacific side, right, you have Vegas, who's another team who doesn't. They're a lot like Carolina, where they have a lot of decent names, but no real like wow it factor. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
agree.
they've done a lot of good things with their team. And they have that type of structure that can sneak out games. See, like that's the difference between like Carolina and this team is like with Carolina, they're gonna grind out, that they can win that way or whatever the case is, but can they sneak one out? You don't really ever think that they can. Whereas if you look at a Vegas, you're like they can probably sneak one out. It's just in their nature and how they play and all the things they've done. Vegas is another team that we definitely did not have high marks for. First of all, being in a playoff picture, let alone first. So they definitely wowed me this season.
So when it kind of comes to the Vegas Golden Knights, now they definitely do have the star power with Jack Eichel. He came back from that very serious neck procedure. 43 games played, 17 goals, 22 assists for 39 points. I think he can improve over time. He's only 26 years old, but I think Eichel reminds me of this way, not obviously different position, I'm saying personality-wise, of like Alexei Kovalev. He's engaged when he wants to be engaged. He's one of the most talented players in the leagues, but he's engaged when he wants to be. When he wants to be the most dominant player on the ice, he can be. But it seems like sometimes he just isn't.
Vegas is big. Jack Eichel, his neck injury.
What's that?
From what I hear about Jack Eichel, his neck injury was not necessarily as bad as a lot of people think that it was. It was the handling by the organization when he was in Buffalo, the way that they handled it. Like he had already gotten like 3 different doctors' opinions, specialist opinions that said, to fix this neck issue is really not that big of a deal. You just need to do this. And Buffalo just did not want to do that. They wanted to do something more risky that was going to keep him out for longer. And so it wasn't so much that the neck injury was really that bad. It was just handled about as poorly as an organization can handle it.
Well, anything with neck and back and hip or athletics is relatively serious. So I could get them because we covered this. It is true. Buffalo handled it poorly. And he wanted to get a certain procedure done that's never been done on a hockey player before, and that's why Buffalo was pushing back. But I mean, if UFC fighters were getting that same procedure done, I think he'd be fine for a hockey player too. But I mean, Bruce Cassidy also for the Vegas Golden Knights has been a boom. He was great here in Boston. I think people got tired out. People got really tired of the same voice in the room. I think when Claude Julien got fired and he got jettisoned out for Cassidy, I think just over time you have to change things up. And Bruce Cassidy was just wearing thin on players because the one thing about Cassidy, this is the one knock on him. He will publicly talk shit about you to the media, and some players just don't like that. They really don't. And it wasn't kind of aging well. That's why Jake DeBrusk, who has become far better under Montgomery, in my opinion, rescinded his trade request once Cassidy was fired. A lot of players, David Krejci, and this is speculation, David Krejci took a year off from Boston. A lot of people say because of Cassidy. Now, I can't necessarily prove that unless there's he finally comes out, but there's speculation that, it was weird. As soon as Cassidy left, Krejci wanted to come back. So I think there was a little bit of wear and tear in the room.
Speaking of coaches, I wanted your opinion on something. Rick Tocchet going to the Canucks and the way that the Canucks handled the firing. I wanted to ask you about that.
I'll just wrap up real quick the Vegas thing. I think Vegas with Logan Thompson, who's injured right now, has done well. Aiden Hill has, been solid for a backup. But depending on how he's week to week right now, Thompson. So it depends. That's the only way Vegas can be a threat is if Thompson comes back. But I mean, yeah, Vegas has pleasantly surprised a lot of people, myself included. And as for how they fired Bruce Boudreau in Vancouver, it's a shit show up there. Let's just call it what it is. It's not a good run organization. Vancouver, ever since their prime run where they had Luongo, the Sedin twins, it's been a poorly run organization. How they did Bruce, try to blame Bruce for the bad team. Like, Bruce can't affect the team that is on the ice. Like, the management built that team that he came into. He was hired last year. They went on a good run. They were looking at him as be a bridge guy. It's not his fault for the players that are on that roster. They're the ones that signed JT Miller to that contract. They're the ones that essentially had Bo Horvat walk. They made a lot of poor moves. And the problem is, like, Boudreau got roasted for things out of his control. Now, do I think Bruce Boudreau is the greatest coach of all time? No, I'm not going to sit here and say that. But have we seen a significant difference from Tocchet to Boudreau? Maybe a little difference, but not much. Team still sucks.
Especially on defense.
It's just, I mean, you know, they're probably pure best defenseman, D-man, not offensively. D-man is probably Luke Schenn. I mean, you got Quinn Hughes, who's putting up 52 points, 52 games played, but he can be kind of weird on defense. You got Ethan Bear, who's just, you know, more of probably like a bottom pairing defenseman. You got Riley Stillman and Tyler Myers. Tyler Myers for $6 million. Whoever made that contract was smoking crack, because there's no way Tyler Myers makes anywhere near $6 million. He's like a $2 million to $3 million defenseman.
You can't
I
blame
know he had
him
a lot
for
of
signing the
problems.
contract, though.
No, I don't blame
My man
him.
was like, yo, I don't care where I'm at. Here.
Better hurry up before they change their mind.
I'm not blaming him. I'm blaming the idiots that signed that contract and brought him into the organization. Stop blaming coaches for the poor roster that you have constructed. Now, you have pieces here. You have Pettersson. I like Pettersson. He's coming to his own this year. 54 games played, 71 points. Kuzmenko has been good. JT Miller offensively is good.
JT Miller is really good. And we gave him up.
Yeah, but he's been defensively.
We had a whole conversation
defensively,
on this. Yeah, he's bad defensively. But JT Miller needed to change in scenery in order to be this good. He wasn't going to be this on the Rangers.
Well, the scenery's changed. Bring him back. I'm just kidding.
There was talks about this.
I mean, but like, look at the roster they have in the third and fourth line. They have Velocity. I'm not even trying to announce that. 23 games played, 1 goal, 3 assists, 4 points. 4 points in 23 games played. Jack Stanika, a Bruins prospect that I watched him in Providence, and like I was just He was always kind of 32 games played, 4 goals, 2 assists for a whopping 6 points. Connor Garland, he's actually playing pretty decent. 55 games played, 11 goals, 18 assists for 29 points. But then you have Dakota Joshua, 14 points in 53 games played. Niels Ahman, 7 points in 42 games played. Sheldon Dries, 12 points in 37 games played. In what world is that NHL production? In what world is that a top 9 guy? Okay. Any of them besides Garland.
So my take on it, right? The way they handled their whole management core was absolute garbage. Like, it's just bad, right?
Yeah.
Bringing in Tocchet, I feel like Tocchet didn't go in there blind either. He was an analyst, obviously. He was doing a show. So he went in there knowing the problems that they had. And I think that he may have said, hey, listen, we're going to finish out this season however we're going to finish it out. But I want to see how the offseason goes for them, because I feel like he didn't just go in there to just go in there. I think he went in there with a plan like, okay, if this is what I'm going to do, right? He brought in Sergei Gonchar, Adam Foote, those guys to help them the overall coaching scenario. And I think that you're not going to see it now, but I think that this may actually work in the favor for Vancouver if Tocchet, like I said, went in there with a plan of it's going to be a rebuild kind of situation once they get to the offseason. And what they're doing now is seeing what they do have that they want to keep for the rest of the season. You know what I mean? So after this season is when you'll really start seeing Tokic be the coach that he's gonna be. Not right now.
Yeah.
Right now, he's just damage control. Let's see what we can salvage. Let's see what the guys have. Yeah, they traded away Horvat and got Beauvillier or whatnot. Let's see what this brings us. Let's see what we have to shed, and let's see what we're gonna have to bring in. But I think that you're really gonna start seeing Tokic be a factor as a coach after the season is done.
So, I mean, Vancouver, the one thing they had when they made that Bo Horvat trade, now the Islanders pick this year is top 12 protected. So if the Islanders just fall off the wagon, now the Boston Bruins made them look like an amateur team last night or yesterday. But
trust me, the funny part, you and I were on the phone when this was happening, and I had Islander fans all around me, and I was conversing with everybody because I was at work. I work in Long Island. And literally, like, I was going over the score with you, and I don't know if you heard the lady, but the lady was like, "No, it's 6-2 now." I was like, Jesus Christ.
Oh, so you guys know,
so like
the Islanders are outside the top 12 right now in the league.
Yeah, but like, so it's a top 12 protected. So, Vancouver, I mean, and it's unprotected. So if they get in the top 12 and they're one of the worst teams in the league, the Islanders, right? It's unprotected next year, which I think could go really poorly for the Islanders, because if that happens, I think they could see a massive drop off next year. But
they
when it comes to the
season pretty
Canucks,
strong, so there's been a little bit of a downtrend for them. Don't know how well Vancouver going into next season.
Vancouver's like right now the 6th worst team in the NHL. They have a possibility of getting the sixth pick. Maybe even higher. They technically could still get the first overall pick if they win the lottery, right? But I think when it kind of comes down to it, Vancouver's in a situation where they're rebuilding, and you're right. It's gonna be interesting to see how the offseason goes. So
I'm not looking for anything from them now. Like no. For me, it's their season's over. At this point, it's like, hey, let's throw a bunch of guys in here. Let's see who pans out. Who plays well, who has a passion, who do we want to keep, who do we want to get rid of. It's more of testing grounds for Tokic and his crew on what the players have to bring and what, because, I mean, the players aren't all horrific, but, there's definitely guys that you can improve on. Yeah, I mean, your defense, period, needs kind of an overhaul. Your forward situation, just a few pieces away from having a decent forward line, decent forward lines all the way around. It's just bad decisions that have gotten them there. So hopefully Tokic can do something on the offseason with them.
Now, let's wrap up the show by having this situation, because we're talking about some of the worst teams in the NHL, correct?
Here we go.
Montreal.
Oh God, let's not have that conversation.
Columbus.
Connor Bedard's best fit. Let's just.
Oh boy.
Let's look into some of these numbers this season. No, actually, I'll even bring forth on screen. I should have probably been doing that a little bit more often, but let's go into.
Yeah, we were talking about this. I was like, "Is this guy really that good?" And you're like, "Listen."
Let's look at it. First off, let's look at his last 5 games, right? His last 5 games, he's got 7 goals, 6 assists for only a mere 13 points. That's crazy, right? Like, he needs to start upticking that production a bit more. His last 10, he's got
points in 10 games.
It's a 25, 15 goals, 10 assists for 25 points this season. So let me compare last season, right? Last season, 62 games played, 51 goals, 49 assists for 100 points, right? Phenomenal season. Now, Bedard's like, you know what? I want that NHL money, baby. 41 games played, 51 goals, 52 assists for 103 points. Like, he's on pace to get potentially 130 points this season.
That's high school, right? 2018, 2019?
Juniors. It's juniors. So how it works is
88 points in 30 games.
It's kind of like it's like high school age guys, essentially. Like, you can be 16 to
but he was high school 19. Age too. And he was whooping that ass.
Yeah, I think he's 17 right now. If I'm yeah, he's 17. He's 17 years old, and he's has 103 points, 41 games played. Where's the best fit for him? Because like
look at the projection.
This guy is the consensus #1 everywhere. Everywhere. It's not just
100%.
one like this is
Everywhere.
stuff we haven't seen since McDavid.
Yeah, this is
I think he's the best player since Captain Paul.
Oh my.
Facts. But like looking at some of the standings around the league, and like we'll just share this again for a second. Who's gonna win this lottery? Who's gonna win the worst team in the league, best pick overall, to make sure?
The Rangers. They're gonna rig it so that we get them, like they claim with
so
a friend.
realistically. so for the co-host with some sane takes here, Fajardo.
I brought the hot takes over from TSP.
Who's the best fit here? I mean, let's go. Let's do top 5. Let's do top 5. Top 6. Well, you know what? We'll do top 10. We'll do top 10. Screw it. So because out of the
what
top
are the
10
odds?
right here.
What are the ping pong odds?
Oh,
first?
I don't have that off the top. I don't have the top of my head.
Arizona would definitely be #1, I think, when it comes to the ping
best
pong
fit.
Odds. No. He's saying ping pong odds. Like who's gonna end up with the first round drift? I think Arizona's worse than Chicago, so they'll have more of a likelihood. Yeah, 57 points. Chicago has 68.
No, dude.
Chicago's got 39 points. They're
39.
I was looking at the wrong season. Sorry. I was
gonna say. I was like, whoa. Calm down.
Like Arizona sucks. They're not as bad as Chicago.
So the worst team in the league is Chicago. 54 games played, 17 wins, 32 losses, 5 overtime losses for 39 points.
Anaheim is a negative 95 in goal differential. That's probably where he's going. So
I think the best fit out of the bottom 5 top teams, worst teams, would probably be, and people may hate me for this, but Montreal. I just think because they already have a young group that they're working with, like he would help that, like he would fit into what they're trying to do, which is get younger, build fast and skilled players and all that stuff, whatnot. Like he actually fits what they're looking to do with the current players that they have. So that would probably be one of the best fits for him. And I think that unlike some of the guys that they have there where maybe it's a little bit too tall of a mountain to climb, he may actually be able to climb the mountain. You know what I'm saying? So I think that would probably be the best fit overall for him.
When you say climb the mountain, you mean make the roster and be there opening day, or you mean
100% be there opening day? Okay. He's gonna most likely he's going to
be
on
there
the roster on any team that he ends up on.
Any of these teams.
Any team that gets him is gonna even if he's close to not making the roster, you're still gonna roster him because he's going to bring you money. Period.
Right.
Yeah. Facts.
He's going to get rostered no matter what.
Now, Montreal right now is outside that top 5. They're the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like 8th, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7th team there. So, I mean, if we're gonna do best fit, Montreal, I would agree, is up there. Because I said top 10 towards the top would be Ottawa. Yeah. I don't think they get the #1 pick though. I don't think they're that bad. I don't think they're bad enough. But realistically, best fit would be Montreal, or funny enough, maybe a team like Anaheim. And I say this on this respect. They have some young pieces. You have some young pieces there that could work. Now, obviously, a -95 is pretty freaking alarming, but they have some.
They're
good
losing
talent.
5-3 every game.
Like, I mean, they have some good talent, right? You have Trevor Seagrass, right? 56 games played, 19 goals, 20 assists for 47 points. He's only 21, right? You got Mason McTavish, 55 games played, 12 goals, 19 assists for 31 points. He's only 20, right? You got some good players here that I think could really benefit from having someone like that. I mean, I don't think it'd be crazy to see that. Like Troy Terry as well. He's hurt right now. 51 games played, 13 goals, 29 assists for 42 points. He's only 25. You get him, you could possibly see a little influence. Like, obviously, they're not going to win anything next year with Bedard. They have far more issues than just offense. But it would be exciting, and it would give the Anaheim Ducks fans something to cheer for. Now, Chicago, for the historic original six aspect of it.
Oh, shit. You took my fucking point, Cap. God damn it.
So, that'd be interesting.
I was going to wait. I was just like, all right, I'm going to let him make his point. And then,
I'll let you go now, though.
Man.
I made my point just for you. I set you up. Layup, bro. Like Dwayne Wade to LeBron. Let's go.
So I'm going to say, like, of course, you bring the hockey cold truths. I bring the hot takes with the conspiracy theories. And I was going to go there for the NHL. If you're talking about best fit, an NHL that wants to sell the sport, an original six team in Chicago with Patrick Kane potentially pressing the eject button after the season. And then you slide Connor Bedard in there and he's lighting it up. He may score 3 goals in the first 6 games and then like really get like the hoopla going to kind of get, Chicago is sort of like a big market, so to speak, for the NHL. I think that, especially if you believe in the conspiracy theory, oh my God, they messed around with the ping pong balls so the Rangers could get Lafreniere and Kakko and all that, right? If you believe in that kind of shit, then it kind of would make you think that they would try to kind of massage Bedard's path to Chicago because it's the best thing, not just for any team that gets him. Obviously, he'd be great for the Blackhawks, but he'd be really great for the NHL as they're trying to grow the fandom of the league.
Yeah, I mean,
asshole, fucking, because I don't have many intelligent takes, and the one that I had, you stole it from me. Like the fuck.
I mean, listen. I think when it kind of comes down to it, it's a good take though, because I think Chicago original six, a historic franchise, one of the best jerseys in the league, in my opinion. And yeah.
Because that's because you're racist. That's why.
Relax. The local.
All right, Commander.
The local Native Americans love that jersey.
The Chicago Commanders is their new name. Okay.
Change it to some unrecognizable shit nobody cares about, like the Cleveland Indians did.
Bro, I will legitimately just stop watching Chicago Blackhawk games if they ever did that, because that jersey is iconic. All right, so
yeah, I like the uniform.
So let's just call it what it is. I think any of these teams that get him would be fantastic. I think the Anaheim Ducks, by the way, should go back to the Mighty Ducks. I don't care about Disney. I think I miss the Mighty Ducks, the Anaheim Ducks.
Well, that was the Disney thing. Remember, they had the whole Mighty Ducks thing with the movies and all of that, and
yeah, they own the team. They used to own the team, and then it's just I hate the Ducks jerseys. I'll be honest with you. I hate the new ones. They're pretty ugly. I like the old Mighty Duck jersey. Maybe it's just bias coming in, but the
is it the colors?
Was that like
or the design?
Design.
It's very bland. It's just bland.
I think the D on it.
Wow, this is a Freudian slip right here, guys. Batman doesn't care about the original six. He only cares about the expansion of Hickey to the southern U.S. with all the Hicks.
No, he's actually he's bringing up. He's bringing up a point though, because Houston has been tied. Like, listen, it hasn't worked in Arizona. They're playing in a friggin' college stadium.
That's too many teams,
right? I don't think it's too many teams. I think it's just the wrong market.
Maybe
like Arizona,
you just move them somewhere else.
If he ends up in Arizona, because then he'd feel like he's right back in college and he can tear it up.
I mean, that's true. He'd be right at home, but
he'd be like, "Yo, I'm ready. Let's go, 100-point season," and just do it.
But I think when it comes to Arizona, experience hasn't worked. But to be fair, they put it in Glendale. They didn't put it in downtown Phoenix. It was outside. It's not like they used the Phoenix Suns arena. I think if they actually put it in a more advantageous spot, they would have seen success outside. But they didn't do that. I think that's where that organization dropped the ball. To be very blunt, that's the same problem that certain teams have had of people even showing up to games. Is that if it's outside of a heavy traffic area, people aren't going to go out of their way. And I agree. The old Ducks logo was far better than this. Than putting the D on their chest. That was dumb. But I mean, for me, they're trying to. They want to They want to expand into Houston. That's been the rumor. They have a billionaire guy interested that wants a hockey team there. Hockey has actually been growing pretty successfully in Texas. You see a lot of minor league teams with like the Allen Americans and the Texas Stars. They do pretty good with attendance. And Houston is a market they want to tap into. Millions of people there, good potential fans. I think it makes more sense at this point to have Arizona move to Houston than create another team. I don't think you need more than 32 teams.
What would
32
be their
teams
name?
is enough.
What do you think the name would be? The Houston what?
Sheriffs?
Well, the Houston Gamblers, but let's see.
God. No, I mean that would be Vegas.
It would be. No, probably like you can't do Oilers, right? Because that's already been taken.
Yeah.
The
Houston Texacos.
Houston Texacos. Yeah. You could do I don't know, like the Wranglers. You could do the Rattlesnakes if you want to get amateurish with it. You could do shit. I don't even know at this point. The Houston Liberals or something. I don't know.
The Houston
Border
shit,
Patrol. That's foul. Can I ask a dangerous question?
Oh God.
How dangerous here?
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty dangerous. So, because it got me thinking, right? You know, baseball is America's pastime, and has been completely taken over by people outside of the country with skin that is like my color and darker, right? Do you think that, you know, because if MLSS is right here with this comment here about trying to get the expansion of hockey into the southern U.S., do you think it's because maybe America kind of feels like, you know, the Americanness of the game is kind of lost since you're getting so many Hispanic and Latino players coming from South America and the Caribbean, and hockey is still more friendly towards a different demographic, let's say? Do you think that could be part of that?
No, because
no.
We have players that are, you know, from so many different countries. Like it doesn't matter. If you're good, you're good, regardless of what country you come from.
No, but I'm saying like the fans see themselves in the athletes, like an actual, like a reflection of them. Like in basketball, you already know what the reflection is there mostly. And now baseball used to have a reflection, and now it reflects like totally different. The reflection, like they can't see themselves.
I think
as much.
I wouldn't say because I wouldn't agree, because quite frankly, if that was the case, hockey's been going kind of extremely woke in some aspects.
Yeah, it's so annoying.
Forcing
it annoys the shit
certain
out of me.
narratives. But so I wouldn't say that. I think when it kind of comes down to it, they're looking at it dollar signs. Like they're looking at population, and they're looking at like, okay, Texas, like no taxes, right? No state taxes, so we can go down there. It's like a lot of it's just a business move. I think that's why they made the team in Arizona.
Environment, who gives a fuck about hockey in the southern U.S.? How many teams do they even have there?
Quite a bit.
It's growing.
Growing quite a bit.
Yes, it's growing, but I think it's growing all over North America. I think hockey is getting bigger, is getting more visible everywhere. But why the focus in hot weather environments where, you know, they don't even get snow in the wintertime, let alone ice in their lakes?
Well, that's soon going to change. But I think when it kind of comes down to it, what's that?
We had like 120-degree day in New York City this winter. It was just warm the rest of the winter.
That's soon going to change. Soon the South is going to be cold, the North is going to be warm. But I think when it kind of comes into it, is
the Houston it's like that.
Yeah. It's definitely growing quite a bit. I know this from a fact because I have a guy that he coaches Division I hockey down there, in Dallas. It's growing quite a bit, and it's being quite successful. And you're seeing A lot of Southern players. You're now seeing a lot of NHL players like Austin Matthews come from places like Arizona, come from places from the South, come from places like California. So I don't think that's much of a thing anymore. That used to be a big narrative. I think that's kind of as technology's improved, hockey rinks are being built around the world, or I should say across the United States. It's not as big of a worry. Houston Hogs. But I think the expansion, or I don't think we need to expand. We just need to move a team. They don't want to go back up into Canada again, because Canada is a less lucrative market than the United States. That's a fact. That's just proven.
Their taxes
and
are way too much.
Yeah, way too expensive. I mean, like Quebec City could easily have a team, in my opinion, but no one's gonna want to make another Canadian team. No one, because it's why are you gonna pay that? I mean, the last team that was created was the Winnipeg Jets.
Yep, or recreated
from the Atlanta Thrashers moved up because, by the way, that never worked in the first place. But the Atlanta Thrashers up to.
You see my fucking point, though, right? I mean, Atlanta, Georgia is a black city too, and let's just be real about that.
That's what I was gonna say. I think a lot. Not like it had a big community support. Let's just call that what it is.
Yeah,
they had some dedicated fans.
But let's face some realities to it as well. Is like that was a different time set than what it is now.
That is stupid logo too.
I actually like that Thrashers logo. Thrashers logo, yeah, I was okay with it. Their colors were. I like their alternate jerseys. That blue on blue. Those were pretty nice.
Yeah, the blue on blue look nice.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're in different times now. I think it could work potentially, but when it kind of comes down to it, but with hockey overall,
the blue
it's grown as a sport. Nice. And the problem is the problem is with hockey though is, let's just call it what it is. The reason why hockey will never be the #1 sport in the world is just the simple fact alone. It's an expensive sport to play.
Yes,
it's thousands of dollars. It's like as someone like played hockey at multiple levels and a pretty high level, like dude, the equipment itself is pretty damn expensive. It really is. It's I mean, goaltending, don't even get me started. But just players alone, like skates can cost a couple $100. A stick now these days costs $100 to $200
with the blocker.
Which I got age restricted for a hockey fight, whatever. But you know, we're gonna come into
this jersey right here
that aspect.
On the far right. That shit looks sick. But that original Atlantis Thrasher logo, I fucking hate it. I think it looks terrible. I still think it looks terrible. But the one on the far right, that shit looks sweet.
That was the last year that they had it. So back to the Connor Bedard fit. I had Montreal as the best one. What would be your pick? You said Chicago, right, Evil? And Paul, what would be your best pick?
My best pick, I think I picked what did I pick? Well? Anaheim. I picked Anaheim because I think there's a lot of young talent.
My pick is the New York Rangers.
Of course.
I want all the good players. Kill this fucking salary cap nonsense.
You sound like a certain Boston Bruin fan that I know.
Okay, yeah, I want. You know what I want? I want Leon Draisaitl on my third line. All right, fuck y'all.
I want Connor McDavid. I want Connor McDavid, Brad Marchand, David Pastrnak all to be on one line. I want Bergeron, Draisaitl. Like I want everything. But like the reason why there's a salary cap. At least the reason there's a salary cap. Like I want Shesterkin to be Omark's backup. Like that's how good I want. So like it doesn't even matter. They can just take turns, but there's a cap for a reason. I understand it. We probably should be heading out here. We've been doing a long show here. This has been a lot of fun.
I didn't get to read it. I apologize.
You guys mentioned that hockey is still way behind football, b-ball, and baseball, even in Boston and other hardcore hockey markets. There's more room for growth in southern markets. Money, absolutely, yeah. That's the thing. That's what I'm saying. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of financial thing. And the thing is, you might not be immediately big now, but if you set up the thing right, which they didn't do in Arizona, because like Vegas has proved it can work in hotter markets. You just need to set it up right. You want to know why the Florida Panthers sucked? Have you ever gone to a Florida Panther game? You ever
gone to that any Florida game? The fans suck in any sport. They suck.
But but it's outside Miami. It's not even downtown. It's like it's outside. It's like it's in a weird area. Because I remember I went down to Florida, and this is when I was at the academy doing a training cruise, and it was like it's very difficult to get to a game. Tampa Bay, the reason why that market's always been pretty good is because it's right in the area.
Literally, right there.
A lot of southern,
fans don't really show up like that.
No,
I mean,
they do. Tampa Bay, they do.
When the Miami Heat was winning championships, you had people.
Oh, Miami fans, yeah.
You still had people coming in into the stadium halfway through the second quarter with LeBron James and Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade leading the league, and they still wouldn't show up to the games on time. They weren't even watching the games. You know? Oh, by the way, Sean Mann, the reason why she likes hockey better than soccer is because hockey is what soccer wishes it was.
Facts. So, and Messi is the greatest player of all time.
I need you to stop that convo, bro.
He's a Ronaldo fan. I had to say that. I don't even watch soccer. I don't even watch soccer. That's the greatest part. So, but hey, I want to appreciate everybody coming by, watching. ML, Ali Star, Sean. Man, we got quite a bit of people pop in. It's been a really fun stream. Thank you for coming in, Evil. It's been it was nice little seeing you here. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe to the channel. We are going to be going live every Sunday at 2 p.m. We'll be having a show. It can range from 1 hour to 2 hours. So if you want to come reach for some of the best NHL content on the planet, you come subscribe to the Locker Room. I'm Captain Paul. That's not really a high bar to set. I'm Captain Paul. That's Fajardo. Down below is Dr. Evil Genius. If you haven't already, like I said, make sure to subscribe. Check out my other channel, the TSP Podcast, Talking Shit Podcast, where we talk about a lot of political issues, pop culture,
channel,
and everything underneath the sun. But I make commentaries, dude. I make commentaries.
and a revamp on a charity channel that we're taking, the 8-Bit Locker Room Entertainment. We are revamping our entertainment channel, and it will be solely for charity. We're going to be getting whatever donations people give. We're actually going to be trying to work with different organizations and give back to charity. So so keep an eye out for that as well.
And when you talk about the Talking Shit Podcast, the charity is the My Pocket Foundation. So you put money into my pocket, and I make sure that the money is going to go to a good place.
So to wrap up the show, I will add everything in the description. Hey, can you do some coverage about the Bruins? Actually, I was gonna just make a video. I had that literally written in my notepad. I'm gonna be actually doing a video on that this week, so I will definitely get that up. Thank you. Actually, it's funny. But when it kind of comes down to it, I'm Captain Paul. That's for Joe. That's Dr. Evil Genius. Make sure to subscribe to everything. Will be down below in the description. I'll see you in the next one.
Peace.